Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dave, and we're the IB English guys. We got our video, our website.
We do not. I just noticed that. Go, talk.
Okay, we're going to talk about the individual oral, and we're going to talk about the handshake. We're going to talk about the introduction, how to establish our global issue and get off to a really good start.
Yeah, that's super important. I know as examiners, we know you're nervous. We know that you have a lot to share, and we want to get off, as Mr. Giles says, to a good start and set this framework so we can deliver a really powerful oral. Okay. Mr. Giles, what are some important aspects of the introduction to the IO? What do we need to think about?
We want to establish the global issue early. We want to make sure we articulate that and establish that from the beginning.
Yeah, remember, you're pulling this topic out of thin air. The examiner has no way to understand where you're coming from, so we got to make sure we ground them in this topic early, okay? The next thing we think we need to have you do is to clearly introduce text one. We're talking about the name of the author, the year of production, and a short summary statement, 1-2 sentences max, that sort of links the global issue to sort of an overall summary about what this text is exploring. Again, just trying to ground your examiner in the right text with the global issue. What's next?
Yeah, then we're going to talk about text number two. If we're in Lang Lit, we're going to talk about our non-literary text, and we're going to look at that non-literary text and establish that and very clearly articulate it.
If you're lit, you're talking about your text and translation, same thing. Short summary statement with the author, the year of production, and sort of unifying the global issue into the summary.
Yeah.
How do you end this thing?
Lastly, you want to reiterate the global issue. I think this is important because if the very first thing we say is the global issue, if somehow the listener misses that or it didn't process that, we go back to that. We go say, don't forget that both of these authors articulate this global issue.
Yeah, I think you want to avoid a situation where the examiner has to stop, rewind, listen, stop, rewind, listen. If you can incorporate these 4 steps in a very clear, smooth, and cohesive way, that's going to prevent that, okay?
Yeah.
You want to look at a couple?
Yeah, let's look at a couple. Last thing I want to mention is the introduction is short. It needs to be less than a minute. I want to establish that global issue, introduce the 2 texts, and go back to the global issue. We should aim for less than a minute.
Yeah, I think 45 seconds is kind of the sweet spot for me, but no more than a minute for sure. Okay, Giles, let's go ahead and put a transcript up on the board right now, and let's read it aloud and talk about what we noticed.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to look at the things they carried by Tim O'Brien, and we're going to look at selected photographs by Philip Jones Griffiths, a photo essay called Vietnam Ink. So both of these are pertaining to the Vietnam War. So here's what the student said, and I'm going to try to work on my delivery so we think about how this is delivered and how the delivery is so important.
Well, on the rubric, it says that you want to enhance. The delivery should enhance the overall quality of the oral and then be persuasive, perhaps even incorporating some rhetoric. Go.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. A war is raging in Gaza. The crisis in the Ukraine continues unabated. It's incredibly clear that there is a physical and emotional toll on both sides of these conflicts. I'm here to talk about war. More specifically, I want to talk about the global issue of the emotional and psychological damage to soldiers, especially to those who have mortally wounded an enemy. The 2 texts I've chosen for analysis are the metafictional short stories, Things They Carried, by Tim O'Brien, published in 1990, and selected photographs from Philip Jones Griffiths from his photo essay titled Vietnam Ink. It is very clear that both creators explore the psychological toll and show their readers and viewers how war has a devastating effect on everyone involved.
Really great intro, Mr. Giles. It's clear, it's concise. You delivered it with some emphasis. I feel like you're in the topic. Talk about some things you noticed with respect to sort of what we outlined before.
Well, I to be honest, I do like how they're referring to some current wars that are going on. This is really, such an unfortunate aspect of human nature and what's happening in the world. But there's not much time spent on that. It's really getting down to the idea of like that psychological toll and the psychological damage. I think that's a powerful word.
Yeah, for me, I like this phrase, I want to talk about the global issue of, and so it's really clear. Perhaps that's, a bit too, someone might say, oh, that's forced, that's not sophisticated. This is an oral recording for me. I think that's clear.
Yeah, that's right. And they go back to that idea of the psychological toll at the end of the introduction.
I noticed, Mr. Giles, that we talked about you want to give a little overview snapshot of text 2 and text 1. They've got the author, they got the year, perhaps maybe a little summary statement there about what that text is with respect to the global issue would be more aligned with the notes we provided earlier. But this is a clear introduction. They come back to the global issue at the end. They're in and out in 45 seconds. A really nice sample. Should we look at another one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, this one, it looks like we're looking at, I think they were looking at Liza Donnelly, and they're also looking at A Doll's House by Ibsen, okay? So let's see how this introduction came out. People are often placed in a box. What I mean by this is that stereotypes and labels can limit an individual, especially those who are marginalized to begin with. Today, I'd like to talk about the global issue of gender stereotypes, more specifically, the stereotypes of women, and how these particular stereotypes can limit a woman's upward mobility and hinder their sense of agency and independence. The two works I've chosen for analysis are A Doll's House, a play published in 1879 by Norwegian dramatist Henrik Ibsen. I've also chosen to look at a female cartoonist, Liza Donnelly, a modern cartoonist who satirically looks at the idea of gender stereotypes in cartoons. Both Ibsen and Donnelly clearly articulate this global issue and show how stereotypes can limit agency and independence and keep women from moving up in the world. Mr. Giles, what do you like about that one?
I think it's clever. I think it's just thinking about putting people in a box. That's kind of a nice way to start. You know, the labels and the things that we put on people, I think that's a really nice start. And very quickly, we're talking about these stereotypes and how they limit. I think the phrases of limit upward mobility, that really works for me. I get that.
Yeah.
That's complex but not convoluted. And I love the word agency. I think that's a powerful word.
Yeah.
So we think about when we think about gender and we think about individuals having power.
Yeah, you can see a lot of concepts from the course floating around there. I would say also this student has opted to give sort of that short summary statement. This idea when they talk about Donnelly, who satirically looks at the idea of gender stereotypes in her modern day cartoons. I think that's clever. That's sort of that short summary statement we're talking about. It'd be great to see one of those for A Doll's House as well. In the end, Giles, what do we want to say about the introduction?
I think we want to get off to a good start. We want a firm handshake with a clear articulation of the global issue. We want to make sure we establish the two texts that we're studying. Again, offering a little bit of a summary of what these texts are about. And we want to go back to that global issue or in and out in about 45 seconds so that we're not spending a huge, 2-minute chunk of time talking generally about these texts. Our next job is to zero in on our extract or talk about the work as a whole and get into the meat of our analysis, right?
So folks, come back for that next video. We'll show you specifically how to launch into that extract analysis, a critical part that students make mistakes on. So come on back, stay with us as we take you through the IO process 2024. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Thanks, guys.